Growing up, every kid has dreams and aspirations. Mine was to be a pro football player. Little did I know, the sport I would love would be one of the top sports for concussions and the cause of CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy. My first taste of that would be when I was 11 years old playing football. We were doing tackling drills where you had two cones and you stood in the middle and you had to protect another player from going into your cones. The other guy would have about a 10-yard head start at you and you were stationary and you would have to try to stop him. Well, I tackled someone high and we tackled helmet to helmet. When I got up, I thought in front of me were a bunch of fireflies. So for the next minute I would spend swatting away these fireflies. Finally they cleared out and I was like, okay, everything's fine. Little did I know. A couple of years later, my next experience with a concussion would be playing high school football. Again, during practice, I made a tackle. I tackled low, his knee hit my head, the back of my head hit the ground, and again, I felt a little weird for the rest of the game, or practice, so I sat out. Didn't look more into it. Little did I know, concussions were the most common injuries sustained during competitions for almost every position in high school football, usually due to being tackled or tackling, according to the Athletic Training Journal from 2018. Also during that time was Calvin Johnson, breaking records, the top wide receiver for the Detroit Lions from 2007 to 2015. While he broke multiple records, he also broke multiple bones and had multiple concussions from a lot of blows to the head from always having action. With him having to go to Georgia Tech and being a very intelligent man, he realized he couldn't do that for long term. He realized the troubles with CTE, realized his mental health declining, and after only 8 years, would call it quits, throwing away millions of dollars for a better chance at living a healthier life. Another case, Junior Seau, one of the best linebackers of all time. Started his career in 1990 with the San Diego Chargers, and ended in 2009. Had a long career of injuries, being a linebacker and constantly tackling. Constantly had concussions, ignored them. His family said as time went on, he started to change a little bit. Nothing too much. After he retired, that's when they started to notice it. And Junior Seau would commit suicide by bullet to the chest instead of shooting himself in the head so that his brain could be preserved for research for the NFL, so other players didn't have to go through the unfortunate circumstances he had to in his life. So, with that in mind, the NFL realized there had to be safety changes, especially to these injuries. So one of the injury protocols that they focused on first was concussions. How can we cut that down? So, let's improve camera angles. Check players from every angle. So at any point during that, if any player seems a little unusual acting, a referee will get a call down and be able to attend that player. The other thing is, now you have to actually heal with a concussion. There's longer healing times where you shook it off after a day or so. Previously, now you have to wait. Also, there's logical concussion tests where they ask you simple questions after big hits and stuff like that, just to make sure everything's all right. Another rule change that happened was, or focus, would be kickoffs, which is one team kicking the ball to another team. one thing was touchbacks got increased. What a touchback is, the one player kneels down in the end zone, allowing the ball to go to the 25-yard line. Previously, it was the 20-yard line, but realizing that wasn't good enough for players to want to call a fair catch, they had to push it another 25 or 5 yards so that players would call more fair catches. Also, formation changes on kickoffs to help cut down on injuries. Less chance for the ball to be ran out. So, with that, the kickoff rule changes that were implemented in 2018 were made permanent. 2018, the restrictions resulted in 35% decrease in concussions on kickoff plays when compared to the 2017 season, according to NFL operations. Also, another focus for injuries was tackling with the crown of helmet or players leading with the crown of helmet on offense, like a running back. With that, you can now get a penalty for targeting or unnecessary roughness penalty, which could lead to ejection. So how did these rules change the game? Well, for concussions, you need clearance by the NFL. Quarterback safety is at all-time high, and there's a lot of referee input. Another thing is they limited the amount of contact during practices, according to Amy Anzalotti, medical doctor from kidshealth.org, 2019. Also, with kickoff changes, less injuries, more penalties enforced, more fair catches. Less injuries. Also, another thing, tougher officiating. Offensive players penalized, running backs leading with helmet, lower tackles penalized, more frequent ejections. With all that, led to a decrease in concussions. And what I can see is pushing forward, the NFL will continue to cut down on concussions for the longevity of their players and for future generations to feel safe playing America's favorite sport.